Yo, what to do, 2K fans? This your boy JuKIng the Boss, and I decided that I finally finished up going through this trailer several thousand times, it feels like, just to see if I can get any tidbits of information that haven't already been seen. Give my takeaway on not the trailer, because at the end of the day, I was less focused about the My Career trailer and more focused about what does that mean for those of the community that play online, that like to go to the park, that like to go to Pro-Am, and just in generally when it comes down to your sole individual player creation and how that is going to affect you moving forward in the game. So before I dive into that, I literally had a question that somebody asked. Well, I didn't have a question somebody asked, but Mike Wang finally answered a question I asked, I think, like a month ago, and I was a little upset that he finally answered that question, but glad that he answered it at least. So somebody asked, can you still call a timeout when someone clearly doesn't have possession of the ball? And Mike Wang responded with, this should be fixed now. I kid you not, like, real talk. I'm like, I know what he says should, like, people worry like, okay, well, should doesn't necessarily mean should, but what he's saying is that they've noticed the problem, they've addressed the problem, and hopefully that the problem actually gets fixed based on the proper precautions that they took. Because somebody else asked a question about how when you say should, when it comes down to the features that you're telling us about, that you're bringing to our attention, what does that mean? I get a little worried about it. And he responded by telling them that, you know, we build the game to work day in, day out, and they make it so that all the things that they believe need to be fixed get fixed. But you know, when someone get their hands on the game, someone finds a way around, finds a loophole to that could break what they were trying to do. And, you know, so he's saying it should be fixed, meaning that the dev team actually fixed the issue, and hopefully it's not one that comes back up because somebody found a way to make that issue come back up. Now, last time it wasn't because somebody found a way to make that issue come back up. It was a problem in the development of 2K18. And I don't know I think it went back as far as 2K17, but it was a problem. And hopefully that them saying it should be fixed means that it is fixed and there's no way to get around it. And then there was another question that was asked. He hasn't answered that question. And the person said, can we see the attributes during creation of my player? And then it was another question where it was like, where is that question? Will there be a way to know which tiers your build will be able to achieve when it comes down to dribbling and dunking within my player creation? Or do we just hope? So I plan on diving into that in this video. And so let's take a look at this trailer, and I want to just touch up on some very key points. Now, first and foremost, if you notice right here, it says NBA Stars Global Tour, which means that the story is based around, well, not based around, but a part of the story is about the NBA, some NBA stars doing a little bit of a global, you know, tour, going around the world, taking on teams around the world. And I tried to see right here whether or not you could see any NBA players, but there's no point in time where you actually see any game footage. And we're going to talk about this whole AI thing because that was something that was also brought up on Twitter. Now, when I first saw the trailer, there was something that I did see, and I plan on diving into that. Shake actually already kind of like beat me to the punch on it, but I respect that somebody else saw what I saw, and a couple other members in the community actually saw what I saw. But as we go through, I'm not going to dive into what the story is about. If you want to really put your hands on that, let me know, and we can have a discussion about that in the comments. But I just kind of want to touch up on some big points. The first key point was right here. Everybody feels this is the first point where you'll be able to create your player. And so there are a couple of theories of going about how that's going to work. One of the theories is that maybe you'll be able to assign points to your build right here. And in that instance, it would create a more dynamic build. Now, as much as I would love that, because let's say if you could do that, let's say that this is your middle ground, right? And you can choose where this goes, left or right. So let's say, for instance, if you say this is 50 and you want this to be 90, okay? And when you move it up to 90, everything else moves down, okay? So the more you add here, everything else moves down when it comes down to it. Now, as much as I would love to see that, because adding attribute points and, you know, being able to kind of like create a more dynamic player would allow you to basically say you add points over here and then say, okay, because you wanted to be a 3-point shooter, so you said, okay, I want to max out my 3-point shooting, and I want to max out my off dribble three. But I'm gonna take away from my mid range shooting and take away from my mid range off dribble because I don't care about those. And you say, okay, I want to get contact dunks, so I'm gonna max that out or get that up there to a level where it's like, okay, I'm gonna get the contact dunk animations, and I'm gonna boost up the driving dunks so that way I can finish those dunks. And I want to be fast, so I'm gonna boost that up so I can have good speed with ball. And acceleration, I'm gonna boost that up enough so that way I do have a good acceleration, but I don't need it to max out with my speed. So that way it's not about how fast how long it take me to get to my maximum speed, just about being able to get there at a good rate. And then you say, okay, I also want to make sure that I have good lateral quickness so that I can at least play some sort of defense. And then you say I want to have good ball control, great ball control, so that I can get ankles and get bodies and everything like that all at the same time. Hey, if you could do that, that'd be fantastic, because at the end of the day, that's not the kind of build I would build, but it'd be great to see people sit up here and boost up their 3-point shooting, boost up their open shot, contested three, boost up contact dunks and speed and acceleration and ball control. And then because they boosted those up, they decided that they took away points from everything else. That would be good to see. Why? Because then I'm looking at it and saying, okay, you can't complain if you created a build that can't play no defense, but I got a build that can play, you know, somewhat outstanding defense compared to your build. You know, so like you can't stop me from going to the rack. So you got those who want to be 3-point shooters, ankle breaker specialists, and posterizers, but you don't got any defensive stats to go with it. But you got a guy who is a master at creating his own shot, shooting mid-range shots, and can get to the paint and get some dunks. And he's decent with the speed, but not, you know, the fastest person on the court. But also he can get blocks, he can get steals, and his lateral quickness is off the charts. Now, by doing that, let's say if you took that route and was able to create your build based on how you assign these attribute points, then you get over here, you know, you got your height, but it also tells you what badges and what tiered badges you would have in that instance. I wouldn't mind seeing that. But what I really think is going to happen is that you're going to be able to say, okay, I want to have primary. It'll say, okay, primary playmaking, secondary shot creating. No, most likely the best way to go the other way around. So primary shot creating, secondary playmaking. So if you're a point guard with that shot creating and that playmaking, so that's a playmaking shot creator right there, then it's going to tell you, okay, well, your mid-range, off-dribble mid-range shot is going to be, you know, able to hit, you know, maybe high 80s, and your open contested mid-range shot is going to be mid to high 80s. Your off-dribble three-pointer is going to be able to be a good high 80s. That's the thing what cats don't realize is that the shot creator, creating a shot creator, now that they done separated this again like they had in 2K17, separating the off-dribble shots from the open contested shots means that if you create a shot creator, your shot three is actually going to be better than your open contested three, unless you create a shot creating sharpshooter or sharpshooting shot creator. But if I believe that what's going to end up happening, if you go with a shot creating primary, playmaking secondary, then what it's going to do is this white bar in the middle is going to move to where you can max out at. Okay, it's going to move to where it'll max out at, similar to, like, it literally will look similar to NBA 2K18, except the UI just looks different. So it's going to move to where you can max out at. And I believe that right here is going to be one or two numbers. So there'll either be a one number letting you know where it's going to start at, or when I say two numbers, it's going to let you know where it starts at and where it maxes out at. And if they do that, then perfect. So if you got it where I pick my primary, my secondary, and then you tell me where this number is going to max at, where this number is going to start at and where this number is going to max at, perfect. And then at the same time, they're going to most likely let you know what your badges are looking like right below, what badges you're going to be able to get. Hopefully they don't do it the same way they did it in 2K18, which is say, okay, you'll be able to get 20 gold badges or 20 total badges and 15 gold. Hopefully they let you know, like, okay, your primary badges that you'll get that'll be gold or Hall of Fame, and then your secondary badges that you'll get and what level they could be at. So hopefully we see that within this region right here. So that's just my take on just the created player system. Let me know whether y'all agree or disagree with that, whether y'all like or dislike that if they go that route, because to me, that's at least the most plausible route they can go. They'll technically be building on the two-way system or the two archetype system in 2K18, but they'll be telling you, okay, if you go this route, this is where you're going to start at, this is where you're going to max out at. Okay, so hopefully they go that route. Another quick thing was I noticed it was a couple of things that I did notice, and that is that there's no shot close. So I'm guessing that's going to be listed under layups, under driving layups when it comes down to shot close. But they got standing dunks, driving dunks, and contact dunks, but they don't have a standing layup, which might be a good thing because I was quite frankly tired of being right under the basket with my small forward and not getting a dunk when I hit that right stick up or right stick to the left, or I was always getting if I hit right stick to the left or right, depending on what side, hitting a layup is more understandable because I'm not driving. But driving layup and I'm hoping standing layup or driving layup and shot close are listed under there. Or they're gonna be listed under mid range. I actually have to go back to 2K16 to see about that, or 2K17 to see about that. So I'll take a look at that and find out. And if you're still playing 2K17, let me know down in the comments below whether or not shot close is listed under driving layup, standing dunk, or or whichever one of these categories is listed under. But yeah, so that's my little take right there on just the attribute system, and then we kind of skip through, and right here you see that they're going to be in Indiana. I'm going to talk a couple of key points about the career story, but I'm not going to really focus on it because it doesn't matter to me, mainly because I'm going to do a series where I do the story and kind of let you see how that unfolds. But it's really just going to be about once I get to the NBA, I'm going to park, I'm doing Pro-Am, I'm going to play some NBA games, I'm going to balance it out for those of you who want to watch and just enjoy some good content. Now, they have a lot of good stars in here, and the first thing I want to talk about is this Mad Ants basketball. Now, we noticed that our player starts off with Indiana's G League team, which is the Fort Wayne Mad Ants, and it's not a problem with that. But I do believe that you'll be able to choose which team that you go to for as your G League affiliate team. And the reason being is because how the G League kind of works when it comes down to bringing in new players. So now, correct me if I'm wrong, because I recently did the research on this and did the reading on this, so maybe I read it wrong, but if you are picked up by a G League team and everything, that means usually you're picked up by the NBA team. But I know there's also a little bit of a standing where, like, if you're picked up by a G League team to fill a roster spot, and there's a NBA player who's picked up there's a player who's picked up by an NBA team and then assigned to the G League. Usually, what that means is that you might be kicked off that team if you wasn't picked up, if you wasn't drafted by the NBA team, or you wasn't chosen by that NBA team. It's a little bit of confusion based on the way I'm saying it. But if we move a little forward, first of all, I will say that this haircut is nice. I think that's the haircut I'm gonna go with on my main mans, because that joint is sharp. That joint is very sharp. Now here I was looking at this and I was trying to figure out if there's any team that has this color scheme on their court. Now, could it be Shanghai's color scheme because it's the closest thing that fits when it comes down to it? So is this a video? Is this a capture from early? Also, as you can see, the 2K originals, the 2K OGs are making a return. The gray pants are making a return. Like, But in this scene, he got a Just Do It Nike hoodie on. Come on now, player. You can't be going, you know what I'm saying, halfway in. So I was looking at that and I noticed that that he, you know, had he was wearing that OG gear, but at the same time, it looked like he was playing on the Shanghai court. As we kind of move forward a little bit, this is one of the first little clips. I don't know if this is one of those mini games that you'll be playing within the story itself, or if this is just a preview of the kind of courts that we can expect to see. Now, speaking of the kind of courts that we can expect to see, I want to talk to y'all a little bit about the neighborhood, the park, Pro-Am, and that's one of the things that kind of upsetted people. Now, first and foremost, if I didn't mention this in the beginning of the video, let me let you all know now, what you already should know by now is that the cutscenes are skippable. The way that that's going to work is you can skip the cutscenes throughout the story. Now, the way that the story is set up, it's set up kind of like a long shot in Madden, which means that essentially you'll be playing just a quick story mode right before you start the My Career portion. Now, for the people who just enjoy playing My Career and they want the dynamic story, I kind of feel a little bit bad for them. But when I do my review of the game when it drops, I will let you know just how far that goes, how far you can go with that, number of chapters, this, that, and the other. But it's based on a chapter format. As you get past the chapters and you get to the next chapter and you move to the next chapter and you keep going, once you finish a story, you're basically done and you never have to go back to doing the story again. They even said that you can skip the prelude altogether for subsequent builds after the first one. So to me, that's a good thing for those who like to build multiple builds. I do like to dive around with a couple of different builds. So the fact that I can go in and say, okay, after I'm finished with my OG build that I'm doing my career story around, then I can build other builds and say, I don't want to do my career story at all. Now, if you don't get to choose your attributes, but they're based on the way that you have that you played in the story, then for those who want to do something a little bit different, it could be a little weird. Mainly because they're bringing the archetype system back. So if you decide your second build, you say, okay, look, I don't want to go through the story. I don't want to do none of that. Maybe they'll say, okay, we'll choose a primary and secondary archetype. So for those of you who, when you play the first chapter or you play the story for the first time, if they don't let you choose your archetype and they kind of choose it based on how you play, remember in 2K18 and 2K17, you were vicious when it came down to playing in the prelude, but the second you got to the NBA, you was hot garbage. So maybe they took that route. Let's hope that they didn't, mainly because you would rather get a little more control over the kind of player that you build, and the kind of attributes that you at least start off with. This is the next thing I wanted to take a look at. The next thing was this court right here. This is what kind of lets me know that there might be, well, I can almost say that guaranteed there'll be multiple parks, not because it's something I heard or something that was talked about, but mainly because, first of all, he's wearing regular gear. And though this is taken from story context and everything, the gear that they wore in the park was usually brown shirt basic gear. And in this instance, he's wearing this very, very nice, clean white shirt. So there might have been a point in time where even in the My Career story that you can say, okay, during the story, you can just go straight to park right away. So even if you want to play the story and everything like that, you might can just say, okay, I want to go to park for right now. So he was able to clean his gear up. Could this also be foreshadowing something that people want? And that is to be able to wear gear across multiple characters. And that would be something good. It would show us that 2K isn't completely focused on the money, because they know they can get it in other aspects. Like, showcase your fans at least a little bit that you're not so hungry for the money. It's sad that they just dropped the article on IGN about how 2K recently had to change the way my team plays in one country, and so they had to remove microtransactions for my team and loot boxes in my team with real currency. So now in that particular spot, because of the laws, they can only they can only open up loot boxes with the earned in-game currency of the My Team points. And that's funny that they literally said that they're protesting it, they're against it. They want their fans to kind of also show their support for it. Nobody wants to show support for that. The fact that they're doing that is kind of a bad thing on them, and hopefully that seems like a Take-Two move. Like, I'm hoping that that's what that is, and that's not an actual 2K move. But moving forward, as we look closer and closer, there's a point in time where he's doing okay. So like this is one of those things where it lets me know that you might be playing with the ability to play for other teams, the other G League teams, based on the fact that this right here, this Greensboro, this is the Charlotte Hornets G League affiliate team. So maybe you say, like in 2K18, you choose which team that you would rather get drafted by, and they say, okay, well, you'll end up playing for their G League team. That's the team that happened to see you and scout you. And the reason why I feel that was, let's see, ain't nothing really saying on the shirt. Let's see, let's say basketball. That's an basketball. Maybe it's the way it's pronounced. I'm gonna look that up. Somebody let me know if basketball is something a little different. It just sounds different. But they got a lot of good stars in here, and there was something that I wanted to show you right here at the end. So he played in the G League for the Indiana Pacers G League team, but he ended up playing for the Timberwolves and once he got to the NBA. And so when you see something like that, you look at it and say, okay, well, maybe, just maybe, he's not playing in this playthrough right there. He wasn't playing for Indiana's G League team, but maybe for the Timberwolves G League team. There are a couple of G League teams that don't have. There are a couple of teams that don't have a G League affiliate, but I looked at that and said, okay, maybe, just maybe. It's going to be pretty wild to see how this goes down, but I'm thinking that maybe because you have something like this where you'll see things like Pro-Am and all that on that home screen, just maybe, even when you're playing in China, that gives you the chance to say, okay, well, that means they're going to have multiple different types of parks. So hopefully we get at least 3 different parks. Hopefully affiliations come back. I did like the trailer. I didn't think it was like the be all end all, but I did like the trailer. I'm hoping that actually this scene right here, I'm hoping that this scene is basically letting you know that we're gonna see Old Town return. Because if you really look at it, each of these little outdoor areas kind of match something else. All except for my squad, Ripper City. Like, I'm gonna be a little upset. But it'd be good to see if we see a couple of these spots return and everything like that. Maybe this backdrop for real. Maybe this backdrop right here might be a whole new affiliate, or maybe just a new way that they branch the affiliates. Who knows? We might even see a 4th or 5th affiliate come in. I highly doubt that we see a 4th or 5th affiliate, but there's gonna be more news dropping today. Later on, and I will cover that news. But what I believe that news is going to end up being is, I believe it's just going to be the gameplay blog that's going to drop, because they have yet to drop that. But usually the gameplay blog and the MyCareer blog usually drop around the same time. So I believe that's what we're going to see come out this week. Today. And if it is, we're going to have a whole nother video about that. Hopefully it won't be as long as this. I know I tend to drop some long videos on y'all sometimes, but mainly when I'm breaking down information, when I'm diving into details, I really like to make sure that I cover everything that I possibly can. Make sure you also let me know down in the comments below whether or not you agree with any of the things I said, for as what's going to come out in the prelude, what's going to come out in the MyCareer story, whether or not you'll be able to access Park or Pro-Am even while you're playing this story. I'm hoping that you'll be able to, maybe not in the prelude, because they always want to make sure they fix server issues. We would always love to see that come out in the prelude, mainly because it gives us a chance to test the online functionality. I mean, NBA Live did give us that opportunity to test online functionality in the demo, and it'd be great to kind of for 2K to do that because it gives them a week to kind of just figure certain things out and see how people are connecting to each other and whether or not the servers are flawed heavy, flawed lightly, or flawless. So hopefully we see them take those little opportunities to really just push the envelope on the game itself. Now, like I said, I want y'all to let me know down in the comments below whether or not you think that 2K19 is actually going to really feel more about the fans. For those of you who only going to play MyCareer, for those of you who only play the single player MyCareer, do you like the direction that they're going with the story that feels like it separates itself from the online aspect completely and just do something where it's like, okay, well, you can then continue playing your career and play offline and this, that, and the other? Or do you really feel like they're stepping further away? There's a whole nother discussion that I did a month ago, 2 months ago, even 6 months ago, that I talked about how MyCareer needs to separate itself from the rest of the game. And not that they need to not do MyCareer, but just more along the lines of put a separate team on doing MyCareer, so that way they create a dynamic experience for the players who are just playing MyCareer, and then have a dynamic experience for the rest of us who like to play Pro-Am, who like to play online, who like to play Park, and this, that, and the other. Man, let me know down in the comments below whether you think the way back is the way back for your player or NBA 2K19, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.